Hello and welcome to the Web Mentors YouTube channel, and we are watching Learning Bootstrap series. In this video, we're going to continue from where we have left over in the last video, and it's about the validation states. So validation states are styles applied to the input element or input fields in your form after the validation has been done for your form. So this validation process is either done by the JavaScript or JQuery, and after the validation process is done, these validation states can be applied to the input field to notify the users what is the status of the validation for that particular input field. So there are three forms. One is the success, the next is the warning, and the third is the error. So for the success, we are going to get a nice green color shadow for this input field, and also the border will be green. This shows that the input field has successfully passed the validation process. So that means the input given by the user is acceptable. And then we get the warning. This is kind of an orangey background that has been given to the input field, and also the border is a little bit orange. So you can use this in order to warn some users about whether this input that you've given is not up to the mark or not up to the standards that we are expecting. For example, if you're using a password and you're giving some strength to the password, and they're giving some password and it's not up to the strength, something like it is very low in strength, you can warn the user that this password is not strong enough and you might have some security issues. And the third is the input with error. So probably we will be using this more than any of the other states. So input with error is something that you can say what the input with error is the state that we can use in order to say that the input given by the user is either wrong or unacceptable. So it is not going to let the user to submit the form unless you correct it and make it into a success or at least into a warning. So probably we won't be using this all along, but you can use it in order to make it look good. But of course, it's not completely necessary. But this one would be very good. You have to use it in order to make your form a little more good. So we have the code for all these things. So if you want to have the success state, you have to use the has success, and then has warning for warning, and then has error for error. So we are adding this to the division class, and if you have seen the form group that we have used in the first itself, you just have to add the validation state class to that form group area. So this will be applied to the entire elements, the pair of elements that is inside the form group. So this will make the color or the background for both the label and also the input field. You can clearly see that the color difference can be seen, and you can also see it in your web browser by accessing the getbootstrap.com documentation under the form validation states. The next is the icons that you can add to your input fields, and that can be done by just using the span that we have used. If you have seen the glyphicons video, you might understand this very clearly because we have explained it very clearly in there, how to add an glyphicon to your website. So that's going to be very helpful for you. If you're not able to understand this, just go to that video and come back here and you'll be understanding this. So apart from this span, you also have to add has feedback along with the has success in order to make it work. So if you're not using the has feedback, what you will get is that the icon will snap out of the input element or input field and come down, or will be at the end of that particular column. So the next thing that you can see is that how these validation states are applied to various forms, like inline forms, horizontal forms, and we have seen the inline forms and the horizontal forms in the video before, where we have seen the implementation of both those form types. And the final thing is the SR only, that's going to just hide the label, so you don't have to worry about it. And the control sizing, I will be getting onto it in the next video. First, let's see how to add the validation states to your input element, and very importantly, you have to add it on the go, on the fly, when the validation is done, not at the beginning of the form, and also not after the submission has been taken place. So I'm going to give you a very brief introduction and also explanation about this, not just about how to add it, but how you can validate your form as well. So this is going to be a very important video. This 25th video will also teach you how to do the validation process using JavaScript and jQuery in your forms. So first thing is very important. We have to use JavaScript or jQuery. So in order to do that, you need JavaScript and jQuery in your website. So if you're not using the jQuery, you won't be getting a lot of things in Bootstrap. So you might have already seen why we have added the jQuery. And if you're not using jQuery right now, please add it. Unless you add it, you're not going to do form validation very easily. So now first thing I have to do is I have to give an ID to my contact form. So I've already done that. The last video I didn't add this, but in this video I added the contact form ID. So you have to add it. And another very important thing is I have added an ID for my submit button. So contact button. But I don't want this submit button to be submit, because when I press the submit button, if it is a submit button, it's just going to submit my form. I don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to change the submit button into button. And when I press this, it's not going to do anything. So I'm going to link it to the JavaScript or jQuery in order to submit this form. That's why I need the ID of that form. So let's see how you can create a script for form validation using jQuery and JavaScript together. So use JavaScript as much as possible when you can, because JavaScript is faster than jQuery. So that's very important. That's something that you can know right now, the advice and also a tip. JavaScript is always faster than jQuery. jQuery will be a little slower. So if you're using too much of jQuery scripts, you might have a very slow website. So now let's get back on. I'm going to actually first give the document ready. So this is to make sure that my website is completely loaded before any of the scripts or any of the form validation effects or events to be applied on any of my elements in the forms. So I have to make sure that the website or the web page or the document has to load completely 100%. If not, you might have some errors. So we have to make sure that this happens. And then once it is loaded, so I'm going to give the function which has to take place. So I have added that. So first thing is very important. We have to get the event when that particular button, the submit button, which is actually a button, pressed. So in order to do that, I'm going to use the jQuery with the ID of that button, contact btn dot click. So this function actually captures. So in order to capture that, I'm going to do this. When this is clicked, I'm going to run this function. So this is where we are going to actually validate the form elements. So I have 4 form elements. So the basic thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to make sure that none of the input fields is going to be empty, because this contact form has to have each and every field to be filled. So I'm going to create a JavaScript for that. So before getting into the actual coding, I'm going to create a JavaScript function in order to do some validation. So I'm going to give as validate text, and within this function what I'm going to do is that first I'm going to get the element that I would like to validate. So for that, I'm going to get an input for that particular function, which is the ID of the field that I'm going to validate. So let's get the ID and then add it in here by using this. So the concatenation operator for JavaScript is plus. So in order to add the hash before the ID, I want to use the plus. And then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get the value. So this is going to get me the value of that particular element of my form. So I'm going to actually check this, whether it's going to be null or whether it is equal to nothing. This particular if condition is going to check whether my input field is empty or null. So that's going to give me whether this input field is filled by the user or not. So if it is not filled, I'm going to create an alert message for a temporary purpose, because we're just going to check it, validation error. And then I'm going to return false. Okay, now I'm going to create here is validate text. I'm going to give the ID of my first element, that is the contact name. So let's first check it whether it works or not. I'm going to refresh it. Sorry about that. Tag refresh it and submit it. You can see that the validation error occurs. So let me add some more effect to it. So there's, yeah, here I'm going to add the ID plus space. So refresh it, submit it. You can see that the contact name validation error. So when I fill this, you can see that the error is not coming. but the form is not going to submit because we have defined this as a button, so it's not going to submit my form. Now I'm going to apply it for all the elements. Before that, instead of the alert, I have to apply the styling to my element. So for that, I'm going to create a var to get the div. So I have to apply the class to the div, not this element. I'm checking this element, but I have to get this division tag. So for that, I'm going to create a var that is a variable, and I'm going to get the division for this particular element. So for that, what you have to do is hash plus id dot, and we're going to get the closest div tag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give this. So this is going to get my closest division tag, and I'm going to add the class to it. So div dot add class is going to get me the hash error. So now when I refresh it, when I submit it, you can see that the red color border is applied, and when I press it, also the shadow effect is there. So that hash error has been applied in here. So let's actually download this code. So let's actually put this code into action for all the elements. So first, I have to add it to all the elements. Okay, let's create an if condition. If not this, return false. Well, I'll explain clearly, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm just going to type it. Contact name, contact email, contact name, message subject, and finally contact message. So we don't need this. So we're going to check each and every element in my form. Now, the reason why I have added not is because if there is an error, it's going to return false. So I'm going to get the false. I am checking for true in here. So if the false is coming, it's going to convert it to true, and if it has no value, I'm just going to return it as false. So if you're using true in here, you don't have to use the not in here. So please keep this in mind. And we also have to create an else in order to make sure it's going to return true in this case. Okay, now I'm going to refresh it, and we have this submit, and we have this hash error applied in here, and when I write something, you can see that this is now having the error. But the problem is here we are seeing that class applied is not changing. So for that, we have to add some code to the else place. So if this else part is executed, or if the value is entered in our input field, we have to make sure that our division is removed of the class has error, if in case it has it. So I'm going to copy this, I'm going to paste it, remove class. So this is going to remove the hash error class if there is an input, there is a value inputted in my input field. So I'm going to refresh it, I'm just going to submit it. And now you can see that the red color is applied in there for the reason that it is having an error. So I'm going to fill it, I'm just going to submit it again. You can see that the hash error class has been removed from this component and added to here. And when I fill it and submit it, you can see that this is now added. So the reason why it is not showing red for all, because this is returning false. So if you're not using this, return false is going to show you red for everything. So I'm going to remove this if conditions in here. So we need this return false for final submission of the form. So that's the reason why I've done that. But you can indeed use it and show there is an error for each and everything. Well, there's also chances that you can check it everything at single go and say that. So I'm going to refresh it, I'm going to submit it, and you can see that everything is applied. So I'm going to just do it. Most of the time, I don't recommend showing it everything because if you have a bigger form, that would be like clogging everything. I'm going to the part where when all these are true, something like all these elements are filled with some values, this condition is not going to return false in any of the places. I'm going to come here where I have to make sure that my form is submitted. So for that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the query dot submit. Sorry about that. Submit. So now for that, first I have to get the form and ID of that form. So it's going to be the ID that I've given in this place, contact form. I'm going to paste it in here, and this is going to create it. So I just have to use the double quotations, and you have to use it as a function. So this is going to submit my form when all these returns true, or none of it goes to the return false part. So this actually ends the form validation coding part. Let's test it out. So I'm typing it, we're getting the error in here. I'm just going to do this, and we're getting the error in here. I'm going to fill it, I'm going to submit it, and it has submitted. You can see that the reason why it's submitted is because of this code, and unless it comes to this part, it's not going to get submitted. So if there is an error, we're going to return the false in here. So this function starts right at the place where the false has been returned. Well, that's the end of this video, and this is how you use the JavaScript with jQuery in order to do validations. And if you want to do advanced validations like checking for numbers or specific stuff or emails, you can use some codes. It's available in internet. Just Google it, you can find it. Or if you want us to do it, please let us know in the comment section so that we will do it for you and put it on the YouTube channel so that you can watch it. And I hope this video is useful for you, and if you find this video useful, please like this video, share this video, and also please subscribe to the channel. And if you have any kind of doubts, issues, and problems in implementing this, please let us know in the comment section. We will help you out, make it correct for you. And if you have any kind of suggestions, feedbacks, or anything that you want us to do in order to improve ourselves, please let us know so that we can change and make it easy for you to understand and also make it good for you. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great day.